Welcome to Tabletop Tactics.
Welcome back, you lovely lot of bosses, to another faction focus with myself, the chef, and he, the beard. And today we are looking at the brand new limited edition special cover of the Chaos Knights.
Look at that.
Isn't it nice?
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that pleasant?
That beautiful artwork. Once again, crushing it.
Like the Redemptor on said cover.
He is literally being cleaved in half.
Man's about to die.
That's really bad
for a
time.
second time.
Yeah, bad time for him.
Yeah.
But good time for Chaos Knights.
Yeah. So this is a all-new tome sent to us by Games Workshop. Thank you for allowing us to do this preview.
Thank you, James Workshop.
James Workshop is, yes, a real sentient person. So today we're going to look at the top 5 changes, with all top 5 is in our categories, as outlined in the timestamps below. If you head on over to On Demand next week, you will find a 2-for-1 special video of some top combos and units. And if you don't want to wait any further, have a look at our Tactica article available for free on our website. The link is down below where you can get the full rundown of the changes and some rules updates found in this mighty tome of power.
And you also get access to every other video we do. It's all ad-free, baby.
Ad-free. The future. It is now, and it is on www.tabletoptactics.tv. So without any further ado, we will now look into this tome of chaotic nastiness, and we'll kick off with some army rules. So let's talk about the army rules. Not that many changes here, actually.
A lot of it's already been done.
Yeah.
So when they got the updates in previous balanced data sheets, they added a bunch of this stuff in.
It's almost like it was a preview of changes and things to come.
It was already determined by the Dark Gods, aka the rules writing team.
Yes. So we've got things like your Traitoris lances, which is basically how you get CP. One of them is a character. That's the same.
Yes.
Your towering foe is as it is in the balanced data slate, so you count as 5 models or 10 if you're Titanic. Your War Dogs get OBSEC. You've also got Fallen Hero, which basically enables you to have a Dreadblade as an agent of chaos, very similar to Agents of the Imperium, so you can pop them into a unit without taking away other pure army rules. And that's kind of it, really.
Yeah.
You've also got your household bonds, which we'll come to in just a moment. And then we've got our other sort of big army rules. Iron Shields, exactly the same. It's a 5-up in when against ranged.
Indubitably.
Super Heavy Walkers, exactly the same. You can walk over stuff and you can charge when doing so.
As you'd expect.
As you'd expect. War Dog Squadrons, exactly the same. But then you've got the big one, the new rules, the Harbingers of Dread.
Oh my goodness.
My Chaos Gods.
Yes.
So the Harbingers of Dread is their pure army rule, and it basically boils down to they get to do a bunch of big, nasty, scary auras as the game progresses. So let's have a look at those. Now it kicks off with everything has a dread range, which is 12 inches, and every model has dread. Whilst you're within dread range, a bunch of stuff happens, and every so often you'll be asked to do a dread test. For those of you that joined us before 8th edition, this is an old school leadership check. You roll 2d6, if it beats their leadership, they fail the dread test, and thus something bad probably happens.
Dreaded abilities, you could say. Absolutely dreadful.
Yes. Unlike the abilities themselves, which are quite nasty.
Yes.
So, what you do is you start off, you've got 3 types. You've got Doom, Despair, and Darkness.
Oh, I mean, that's quite cool, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. So you always start off in Doom, and then you can go into either another Doom, or Despair, or darkness. Now, if you go into despair, you can only then, and basically they stack. It's very similar to Power from Pain.
And also very similar to your Marshall Carters as well.
Yeah, but these you pick at the start of each battle round rather than needing to predetermine. But yes, effectively what you're in determines the next one that you can go into. So if you're in Doom, you can go into Despair or Darkness, but if you're in Darkness, you can only choose another Darkness or another Doom. You'd have to kind of almost go across. There's a little table in here, it explains it a lot easier than I can. But what is Battle Round 1?
So Battle Round 1, you have a choice of Doom, as you've already said. It's called Dread Host. And whilst an enemy unit is within dread range of this model, you subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in that enemy unit, and each time a combat attrition test is taken for that enemy unit, you subtract 1 from the test.
Yeah. So every knight will always have a 12-inch bubble, and it's not an aura that specifically says they're not auras, so they can't be turned off by reduce aura abilities or anything like that. They're always going to be 12 inches. There's ways to increase it through various rules, but generally it's 12 inches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad start. Okay, fine. Doesn't seem too spicy.
Yeah.
But what else do we have?
We have Battle Round 2.
Yes.
If you decide to stay Doom, you just add 3 to their dread range.
Okay. Nah, that's all right.
We don't want to do that, do we?
Oh.
You can go into Despair, and you get access to Creeping Dismay. And whilst an enemy unit's within dread range, the enemy unit has any aura abilities, you just subtract 3 from that aura ability. And if that enemy unit has any abilities that use in the command phase, you also subtract that by 3 inches as well.
Lol.
Okay. And if you choose Darkness, you have Geist Storm.
Also, yeah, we'll point out that like it's chaos, which means every name is ridiculously over the top, and I love it.
Yes. So with Geist Storm, each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot with, and each time the enemy unit wishes to declare a charge, it must first take a dread test.
Okay.
Because you're looking towards a giant towering abomination.
Yeah.
And you're like a little guardsman, peon. It's like, shall I shoot it? I feel a bit nervous about it. So, yeah.
And remember, because you've got the previous round one, they're going to be at -1 leadership for that dread test.
Yeah. So if you pass dread test, you can act normally with your shooting or your charges. Otherwise, if you fail, models in that enemy unit cannot make ranged attacks unless they target the closest eligible unit or the closest Chaos Knights unit. If that enemy unit has to declare a charge against Chaos Knight units, any charge rolls must be halved.
Lol.
Halved?
Halved.
Hi!
Halved. So you go, I'm going to charge that knight with my... and this is the thing, a dread test is not a morale check or anything like that. So there's no like, oh, insane bravery, or I'm a synapse creature, or I'm, against things like Custodies with leadership 11, they're probably going to charge you. But like even like a unit of Blade Guards going to be like, oh, I don't know actually.
Yeah. Oh, I rolled a 5, no, it's a 10.
Yeah, oh, unfortunate. Like,
which is kind of, it's pretty bonkers. But if you think about like, charging towards a knight that's quite far away.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be quite scary.
Yep.
If you're really close, you'd be like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
But if you're really far away and you've got a giant knight in front of it, you're probably going to have second thoughts.
Yeah, so yeah, it could be a bad time for you.
It's very cool.
Then we go into battle round 3.
So battle round 3, if you do Doom, you have Mortal Terror.
Ooh, right.
With that one, if you fail a morale test, 1 additional model flees before combat attrition tests are taken.
So this is in dread range again?
This is in dread range again, yeah.
Pretty much everything applies when you're within this dread range. That's kind of the shtick of it.
Almost
there's a
everything.
Couple, there's a couple which don't, which we'll get to, and they are particularly nasty.
Yeah, so Empiric Fugue.
Fugue. Not Fugu.
Fugu.
That's a type of fish.
Empiric Fugu. With that one, if you're within dread range, each time an enemy unit wishes to start performing an action, it must first pass a dread test. If it's failed, it just can't. Which is cool. At the start of the morale, also at the start of the morale phase, if that enemy unit is currently performing an action, it must take a dread test, and if it fails, it cannot finish performing the action.
Yeah, so you run up to it, you move near a unit that's doing not raising a banner or R&D because they happen at the end of the turn, but some of the other ones like investigate sites or some of the Codex specific secondaries which are completed at the beginning of your next command phase. You just walk near them and go, "You sure you want to do that?" And they go, "I've changed my mind."
Yeah.
I don't want these victory points. They're yours now.
They're yours.
Mr.
You
Knight.
have them here for the Dark Gods. If you do Pool of Darkness, which is a darkness one, this doesn't need to be within dread range.
Yeah, this is one of the rare ones.
Each time a ranged attack is made against this model, the attacker is more than 12 inches away. They're -1 to hit. It's pretty nuts.
Incidentally, not dense either, so you can't
Yeah.
like ignore that. It's just a flat -1 if you're too far away because you're shrouded in darkness.
And now we're getting into the twilight hours of the game, Chef.
Yeah, where it becomes very nasty.
It gets pretty scary now. So we're in battle round 4. We'll start with despair this time. You have paralyzing insanity.
It paralyzes me how insane this power is.
Whilst an enemy unit is within dread range of this model, if the unit has OBSEC, it no longer has OBSEC.
Lol. So remember, this is a 12-inch bubble of no OBSEC for you.
Good grief.
So you could leave some of their OBSEC models alive.
Yeah.
Because normally that is a big weakness of the Knights, and you've had like the War Dogs, which are able to counteract that. And now this time you can just go,
Yeah.
have you seen me?
Yeah.
And let's be fair, if you've got a knight still walking around in turn 4, your opponent's already having a bad day.
Yeah, there's not going to be much left at that point. You might have like key units that are going to be able to get victory.
But that's exactly those kinds of units which you can just walk next to and go, nope, I'm going to take this from you.
Sorry, pal. If you choose Doom, you have Wailing Geists. If you're within dread range, they must subtract 2 from the leadership characteristic.
Sure. I
pretty
mean, morale
fun.
is going to be bad for you.
Yes. If you choose Darkness, you have Veil of Shadows. This doesn't need to be within dread range. Each time a melee attack is made against this model, you'll subtract 1 to hit.
Sure. Okay. Okay, fine. I mean,
It's hard enough to fight a knight anyway.
yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, like in terms of their overall defenses in combat, they're reliant on their armor and their high toughness. So
Yeah.
a -1 to hit, especially in the late stages of the game where you might have a knight that's on like 8 wounds and then the character goes, well, I can go and finish him off. Actually, it might be a little trickier now.
Yeah.
So the good thing about all of these is because you pick them at the start of the battle round, you can adapt as the game goes on.
Yeah.
You are, of course, limited with the direction that you go in, but you've still got some good options.
Yeah. And then finally, battle round 5. It says 5+ in this book for some reason. I don't know why the plus
I guess
is
it's
there.
future-proof for like narrative games that might go on.
Yeah,
There might
maybe.
be some narrative games that go on later.
We're back to just Doom, like you have in battle round 1. You have Horror of the Warp, and if an enemy unit is within dread range of this model, each time a combat attrition test is taken, you have to subtract 1, and an unmodified roll of 1 or 2. No, on an unmodified roll of 1, 2 models flee instead of 1.
So you've already got a -1 for battle round 1. So if you're in the late stages of the game and you need to take a combat attrition check against a Chaos Knight army, and you're in that dread range, you are basically losing half your unit, because on a 1, 2, or a 3, unless you can ignore combat attrition modifiers, you lose a model. But for every 1, you lose 2 models. It's pretty wild. Like it's one of those things you go, it's not game-breakingly powerful, but it is so fluffy. And the real bulk of the power is in like turn 3 and 4, where you just go no OBSEC for you.
It's crazy. If let's say you're in that situation, you roll for your when you're rolling, and you get 2 1s come up, it's 4 models.
It's just 4 models that run
It's 4
away.
models gone.
See ya.
Oh dear. And they're like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, they just go, you know what, I mean, we've made it this
Yeah.
far against
Yeah.
them. So, and every knight has this. It's not just the big boys, the War Dogs have this as well. So you can really spread this out. There's definitely some power in here, and there's a lot of like really quite nasty sort of stacking abilities.
Yeah.
But it is fluffy, and it's certainly not like, you imagine if that was on like, oh yeah, like everything within like 6 inches of orcs just lost OBSEC. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like, so it's not like an atrociously powerful mechanic. There's definitely power in there, and it can potentially swing a game quite hard, but knights do that anyway.
Yeah. And when you're getting into the really tasty Harbingers of Dread abilities, you will have lost quite a lot of your army by that point normally anyway, because it's just the way it is with knights. So when you are in turn 3 and 4 and you've got those really powerful abilities, yes, you've got a 12-inch range, but you're not going to have complete coverage of the board.
Unless, and again, as mentioned, unless your opponent's been really unlucky and not killed any knights, in which case, if they've not killed many knights by turn 3, they're already going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
So it could be like a win more button, which I'm not a massive fan of. Yeah. But that's generally not the case with knights. So it gives them a nice little edge without being too like overtly strong.
Yeah. But you're right. It's very fluffy. It definitely leads into the aesthetic of the army.
Yeah.
They look scary. They should be scary on the battlefield.
Imagine being near one of these things and like this, the souls of the like oh, you think it's steam coming out of there? No, it's the souls of the damned.
Yeah.
So it's like they can really like they've really hit the nail on the head with the fluff of that army rule. So yeah, that's really nice,
Very cool.
and it gives them an extra layer to the army. So those are your main army rules. Not a huge amount of changes, but quite a chunky main army rule.
Yep.
So let's talk about the households themselves, and there's some pretty big changes in here. So the household bonds, the bonds of the household, in addition to their Traitoris ambition. So this is again a very similar mechanic to as it was. It's basically, here's your army rule, your chapter tactic, and here's another one that you get if everyone follows the same mindset, basically, which you now have to. So it's kind of fine. But what it basically amounts to is you've got your Iconoclast and your Infernal. They're both very similar, but with some tweaks. So Iconoclast is now +1 attack and the -1 AP, whether you've been charged or heroic intervened.
Mm-hmm.
As expected. They no longer have the aura of an extra model runs away in morale, because that's now your Harbingers of Dread ability.
Yeah.
So Iconoclast is basically the same, but one of your rules can now also be used by Infernal. That's kind of it.
Indeed. Infernal Household is similar sort of form as what we had before. You roll on a D3, and when you do so, you take a mortal wound. So you gain an extra ability on a D3 table. You can still take
D3.
D3. You can take D3 mortal wounds and pick one from the table if you prefer.
It's a gamble.
It is a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a shame that you are still losing the wounds with these abilities, but I think they are probably it's more tempting than it was before, because I think the abilities are better.
Okay.
Than they were before.
Okay.
In my humble opinion. So if you roll a 1 on your D3, you get +3 inches to your move, which is the same as it was before.
Well, I think it used to be +2, but
Oh.
yeah, it used to be. I think it was +2, and we'll get to the unit changes in a minute. But basically, all the knights got slower, so it's actually worse.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Well,
So it's actually
okay.
worse.
So my theory is going out the window. If you roll a 2 on your D3 table, you essentially get transhuman physiology.
Can we call it transhuman physiology? What's it actually called?
It's called Infernal Demonic Fortitude.
Demonic Fortitude.
Demonic Fortitude.
I mean, we will find one for every book.
Yes.
The more that they do transhuman physiology, the more stuff we get to say.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's your demonic fortitude. You come up against a railgun, you go, no, thank you.
Well, this is why. So that's the look. Sorry, going slightly off tangent here. As soon as the railgun was mentioned, everyone was like, "No, my knights are dead. My knights are dead."
Internally, we're just like,
So actually, if you're facing an army such as railgun,
yeah, if you've got loads of broadsides or you've got loads of prismatic cannons,
you know what I do, Chef?
You're gonna take...
I would pick Demonic Fortitude on all of my knights, roll the D3, and I'd probably not die as much.
Maybe.
That's why I kind of still like it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Iconoclast is probably better.
I think Iconoclast is definitely the better generalist one, because it's always going to be useful. Extra AP and attack is generally good. You want to be getting stuck in with knights.
Yeah.
Demonic, the Infernal Surges and Demonic Surges are a bit more utility. Like, I think you're going to get a bit more use out of them if you've got to really utilize them. But the risk reward is...
It's a bit of a swinger.
It's a bit of a swinger.
Especially like if they're on their last legs a bit.
Yeah,
you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I want to use this ability.
Yeah, do I want to use my special ability with my army roll? Yeah.
Tricky one.
Yeah.
And the last one, if you roll a 3 on your D3, you get a demonic power, which you can give to one weapon you're equipped with, and then you add 1 to the wound roll.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good, because you're already going to be wounding relatively easily anyway. So if you've got some really tough targets to get through, then you have the ability to do so.
Yeah, because I think previously that also gave you +1 damage.
I think so.
I think it did, but
Yeah.
I think it was +1 strength, +1 damage, but it was only ranged weapons that can be applied to melee.
Yeah.
So if you go in with, like, you know, you want to cleave for a unit of, you know, Custodies or Crisis suits, and you go, I'll be winning them on 3. You can go, I'll win them on 2s actually.
Yeah.
You know, so it is, like, don't get me wrong, Infernal is nice. I think there's some aspects of it which were better in the old version. So the old version of Demonic Fortitude, rather than the Transformer Physiology, it was +1 toughness.
Yeah.
So against some things where you go, well, lots of melty, you go, I'd rather have the +1 toughness because you're winning me on 5s. But there's a lot of like strength 9 and above weapons out there. So it swings and roundabouts. It's a change. I'll have to see, like, whether it's a reasonable change, a good change, a bad change. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on Infernal, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. So regardless of your Traitoris ambitions, you also have a household bond.
Yes.
So the way that this works now is pretty much the same as before. You've got 3 iconoclast households. They must be iconoclast.
They must.
And you've got 3 infernal households. They must be infernal.
They must.
They must. You only get the 1 ability because you've already got your 2nd chapter tactic. And when you do a custom household, you only pick 1 now.
Just the 1.
Just the 1, and they must come from a list of either infernal or iconoclast. So you are a bit more limited in terms of custom households. And Dreadblaze, just to touch upon them quickly, they never get your household bond, but they can always pick a different house bond to what you're taking, basically. So you can customize your Dreadblades a little bit.
Yeah, and very good news for everyone involved that's watched any of our Chaos Knight battle reports in the past. There are ways and means of creating the Rabbit Hound. And maybe he's better than he ever was before.
Rabbit Hound.
Good grief!
Will rise from the fires of hell. and woof at you.
Yes, woof.
So with our households, like I say, we've got 3 in Iconoclast and 3 in Infernal. So I'm going to just briefly talk about House Herpatrax. We won't talk about them all. Check out the tactical articles. Herpatrax I do use in the game that's happening right here today, right now on Freeview. Go check it out if you have not done so already. But effectively, all of your War Dogs get +2 wounds, and all of your Big Knights get +4 wounds.
That's pretty good.
That's really good because it just means you're much harder to degrade. Not much harder to degrade, but you can take like a good extra bit of hitting before you get degraded.
Yeah.
Which is just really nice. It's a very simple trait, but it is quite effective.
Yeah.
Your stratagem is basically a 6-inch aura of doing a few mortal wounds. And then your Warlord trait is phenomenally cool because it is bow to none. Again, I use this in the battle report, but to put it bluntly, you ignore all modifiers to your characteristics unless it's from your damage table. They're very clear on that. You don't get to ignore that because that would be super bonkers. Yeah. You ignore all penalties to hit, wound, and damage rolls, and you ignore all penalties to moving, advancing, and charging. So you just go, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm -1 damage. I'm sorry, did you not hear me say I don't care?
Yeah.
I bow to none. You are required by law to name your knight Cetra when you do this because Cetra bows to no one. But yeah, it's a really good all-round trait. You go dense cover, I ignore that.
Yes.
Oh,
Care not for it.
yeah. -1 to wood. Sorry, did I say I didn't care?
Tally ho.
Not sure if I mentioned that I didn't care. And then you've got the relic, the Crown of Jedefra, which is -1 to hit when you're in melee. Okay,
That's right.
It's all right. I think there's better relics. You're mainly taking this for the really good Warlord trait and the really good household bond ability.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's nice.
Very good indeed. Well, I'm going to cover House Vextrix. This is one that I used quite a lot in the previous incarnation of Chaos Knights. This is one of the Infernal household ones. So your household bond is Titankin, which is cool. And Titankin means that each time a model with this bond is selected to shoot, you can mirror 1 hit roll, 1 rune roll, when you're resolving that model's attacks.
Is it hit and or hit all?
And.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a rare one, but that's ranged only.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, when you're selected to shoot, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're generally always going to be shooting with knights in some capacity.
I'll tell you what, some of them new weapons though, some of those new weapons are pretty tasty there, chef.
They're nice weapons.
Woo!
They're nice weapons.
Very good. You have a stratagem which is called Interception Array. You do it in your shooting phase when one of your models is selected to shoot. So at the end of the phase, each time model makes a ranged attack, you can ignore any or all hit, roll, and ballistic skill modifiers.
That's nice.
It's quite nice.
It's handy.
It's a bit like yours, but it's a stratagem.
Yeah. Nice. You can do that on your non-warlord.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's pleasant. And then your warlord trait is Favour of the Dark Mechanicum. And that...
Could we not have received the Dark Mechanicum army instead of squats?
You don't like the squats,
I really don't like squats. I really don't like squats.
Oh, we've been discussing them at length today.
Oh, sorry.
Length.
Oh, sorry.
At length, Jeff.
Because they're short.
Oh, that was good. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Outta
Well
here.
done.
Yeah,
Well
thank
done.
you. Thank you.
Favour of the Dark Mechanica.
So if your Warlord is a War Dog class model, you add 1 to its wounds. If it's Titanic, you add 2. At the start of each your command phase, you just regain D3 lost wounds.
Sort of like mine, but with a heal.
Yeah.
It's like half of mine,
Yeah.
but with a little fixer-upper in
It's
there.
quite Dark Mechanica-y. I do quite like
It's
it.
almost like they've got a favour of one.
Yes. And then you have your Heretic Power Core Relic. I think this is very different to the last one.
It's similar. It's
yeah.
similar, but it's lost. It used to improve your explosion.
Sure. So you add 2 to your move, which is fine. And also, each time you make a melee attack, unless the attack is made using a sweep profile of a melee weapon, you add 1 to the damage.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, which is good that they didn't add it onto the sweep, because that would be a bit much.
We'll get to that. That's
Yes.
a big old change there.
Yes, but +1 damage to an already very damagey weapon is...
It's quite nice.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's nice. I like it. So that's just 2 of the 6.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the fell bonds themselves. There's a couple of pretty good ones in there.
Yeah.
I think there's ones like ways to ignore light cover.
Yeah.
Ways to get. I think it's that's quite a nice one. Precision cruelty. If for every 6 to wound, it's +1 AP and +1 damage on the range weapons.
Yes.
Which is quite nice.
Yes.
But as mentioned, they are set to Iconoclast only or Infernal only. So if you want to ignore light cover, but you want to be Iconoclast, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
Not allowed, not today.
Yeah. Another reason to check out the articles is because this is all done in depth on there.
I've done it for you.
You have.
Yes, go me. Let's look at some of the extra bits in the army, so things like your stratagems and upgrades and whatnot. We'll kick off with some stratagems, and there's been quite a few changes in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the big ones is, of course, rotate iron shields, now known as diabolical bulwark or diabolic bulwark. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. It's over here. Diabolic
Bulwark.
Yeah, diabolic bulwark.
What is a bulwark?
A shield
Oh.
or a bastion.
Sounds like a piece
So
of
it's now
castle.
2 CP.
Yes, it
Unless
is.
you're a war dog, in which case it's 1. So you're going to need to be a little bit more cagey with it, because otherwise you're just going to burn through your CP very, very quickly.
Yep.
A few other good changes in terms of toning down a bit of power, given that there's been power boosted elsewhere in the book. Things like Trail of Destruction. It's now you can only reroll 1s to hit, and that's only if you're attacking a unit that's on an... is it on an objective or if you're on an objective?
Each time a model makes attack, if the target of the attack is within range of an objective marker. Sure. It's very different to before.
Very different.
The Trail of Destruction was like you
was the
do
only
it
one you did.
pretty much every single turn.
the
That's
only
what you saved your command points for.
Yeah. But it is only 1 CP now, so it's there. You know, it's a trade-off for the power, right?
Yeah.
There's a few other sort of little changes here and there.
Yep.
My favourite,
You've been excited for this one, haven't you?
spiteful. Oh mate, I've been waiting so long to talk about this. Right, spiteful demise. Previously, what this did was you would do this when your knight died and you exploded on a 4+. Well, now you just automatically go ba-boomba.
It's so, like, of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you do. If you're a corrupted princeps, I think it's a princeps that go in one of these.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to blow up and you go,
You go. So it's 1 CP for a war dog, 2 CP for a abhorrent class, so the big knight, and then 3 CP for a tyrant. In addition, if you are doing the tyrant, you do roll a d6 for them, and on a 4+, it becomes the 3d6 ba-boom instead of a 2d6.
Yep.
So it is expensive, but if you've got a knight that's in the middle of the enemy lines, you're gonna spend those 2 CP.
of course you are.
You're gonna
Come
go,
on now.
I've got 2 CP, I go boom.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry. You killed me in combat. Have d6 mortal wounds, please.
And if you're really keen, you can do it on the abhorrent class and with 3 CP and blow up one of them.
Oh, the big tyrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your tyrant's like there,
Mega
look,
boom.
it's very fun, it's very silly,
Yes.
and it's going to cause a lot of headaches for people, but it's very funny.
It's very, very cool. So one I wanted to highlight, not necessarily because it's like a super good stratagem, but something to note going forwards. If anyone has ever played Knights before or is playing Knight or has been facing knights in the past, if you're in combat, you're going to get trodden on.
Battle cannon feet.
Always do Titanic feet, always, because it was always the best weapon to use. That is no longer the case. The melee weapons you have on your knights are far superior to the feet. You do have a stratagem for your feet.
Yeah, the feet can be pretty good.
They can be. For one command point, you can use crushed like vermin. Yes. And when you do so, you do subtract 1 from your hit roll, because you have to stamp on the... If I'm stamping on vermin, I'm going to be less accurate than if I was stamping on flowers.
Sure.
For instance.
Okay.
Yeah. If that attack successfully hits, unless the target of the attack is a monster or a vehicle unit, the target suffers 2 mortal wounds, the attack sequence ends.
Yeah, I mean, so if you crush them.
Yeah, if you want to finish something off, like finish off some infantry, something like that, you just tread on them, like vermin.
Crush them.
So there are ways to boost up your feet, but for the most part, you ain't gonna be using your feet.
If you want melee with knights, you got to use the melee weapons. Funny that.
Yes.
This shouldn't be any surprise or shock to anyone that has seen the Eldari Codex, looked at the Wraith Knight and just went, oh, they only get to make a few attacks with their feet now. You go, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is called a trade-off for having double shooting.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
You can't have your cake and eat it. You're not Tau or Harlequins.
Yeah, especially Chaos Cake. It tastes terrible.
Yeah.
Very
spiky.
One other one I quite like. One other one I quite like is Doom and Despair, because that allows you to manipulate the Harbingers mechanic. Cool. So you can, if you're in battle round 3 or above, you can go back if you wish. So
nice.
if you really want to go back and change one of those Harbingers of Despair abilities and do it again, you can do, which is quite nice. Yeah.
That's cool. So yeah, there's a few other sort of one. I mean, you've got your fairly standard, extra relics and stuff. You can give 2 warlord traits to your warlord, which is pretty sweet.
Oh no, again.
Bind the souls of the slain is still in there, so you eat them if you're infernal and heal up. There's things. You throwing people with a claw is now a stratagem. It shouldn't be a surprise in 9th edition codexes. A lot of those kinds of rules have become stratagems in some way and replaced by others, or just gotten better. So yeah, like there's some good stratagems in here, as well as some good quality of life changes, but there's a few key ones to look out for, so it is worth noting those. Then we have our Favour of the Dark Gods. So this is your paid upgrade system. You can, basically you've got 3 for each of the 5 Pantheon bits, so Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Undivided, and 3 different amounts of points.
So what you're telling me, Chef, is that these marks of chaos we're about to cover actually do stuff.
Marks of chaos that do rules? That's weird. It's almost like being in a previous edition, pre-8th. So what you do is you pay certain amounts of points. Depending on the knight that has it, they will cost more points because they're better on a bigger knight.
Yeah.
Funny that, although some of them are cheaper because they're not as beneficial.
That's true.
These they will all give you a keyword. There are stratagems that work off of those keywords, which we've not touched upon, but there's things like the Nurgle one allows you to act on your top profile, which for knights is really good.
Oh boy.
Also costs you 2 CP on a big knight, but hey, you're a knight that acts on its top profile. Well, that's good. One of my favorites is, because it's of just how ludicrously annoying it is Blessing of the Dark Master.
That's pretty good.
So you basically pledge yourself to Be'lakor. You become Pantheon Undivided. Your opponent can't reroll hits, wounds, or damage rolls against you. But wait, there's more, because each of these has a favoured ability. And what you do, this is really fluffy, is you need to kill enough wounds worth of stuff to offer a worthy offering to the Chaos Gods. So what this means is it's an increasing profile. Again, the bigger your knight, the more offerings you need to do because you're a more powerful knight. And all you need to do is kill X amount of wounds worth. So for War Dogs, it's 5 wounds. For your Abhorrents, it's 10 wounds. And for your Tyrants, it's 15 wounds. And that can be, that's across, it's a little tally. So you go, cool, I killed a Rhino, that's 10 wounds. My tally is completed on my Abhorrent. I kill 3 Custodi Guardians, that's 9 wounds on my tally. 1 more will get me the favoured ability. The favoured ability for Blessing of the Dark Master is Transform Physiology.
Ah!
Or Blessing of the Dark Master. So yeah, there's a couple of really, really nice ones in here across the board. I use a bunch of these in the preview game, so go and check that out. I do use Blessing of the Dark Master later.
And also what's quite cool is that some of the relics you might remember from the previous book have sort of been amalgamated into these marks. So for example, with Slaanesh, you have the Quicksilver Throne. Should I tell them about Quicksilver Throne?
Enlighten them.
Oh, why not? So you gain the Slaanesh keyword as you normally expect. You can perform heroic interventions as if they were a character.
Yes, because actually that's quite an important distinction, is the stratagem to give you a relic no longer makes you a character.
Yes.
So you can't be like, oh, I'll give them a relic and then that makes them a character for heroic intervention purposes. So again, another little tweak to watch out for.
Yes. In addition to that, at the start of the fight phase, you fight first.
Always good.
Ho! And then if your offering is deemed worthy by Slaanesh, I brought this for you, and they're like,
Oh, I like these souls.
thank you. You could have your favorite ability, which allows you to pile in or consolidate D3 plus 3.
So you just add D3 whenever you put it. Fast boy.
Yeah.
Fast boy.
Very cool.
So yeah, this is some really nice abilities in there. As I say, I use some of those in the game available on Freeview. So we've also got some Warlord traits. Most of these are pretty similar, or at least following the same sort of pattern as what they did. Eager for the Kill is pretty much identical.
Yeah.
Knight Diabolus gives you reroll once to hit in combat now, as well as +1 attack, which is very nice.
Yep.
Infernal Quest is still Obsec, which is still great.
Harbinger's scrap code's better.
Oh, it's
was
much
always
better.
quite cool because I think before it suffers 1 mortal wound, like you finish it off. I think it's now 3.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but yeah. So now it's in the morale phase. You select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches, and that's in the morale phase. So this is in both players' morale phase.
Yeah.
The vehicle has to do a dread test. If they fail it, they take 3 mortal wounds.
Yes.
And they also count as having half wounds remaining on their damage profile.
Yeah.
If they don't degrade, they just take -1 weapon skill and ballistic skill, and this is all until the start of the next morale phase.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of the scene in Independence Day when Jeff Goldblum is putting the virus into the mothership.
It's actually just a knight launching Apple USB sticks.
Yeah.
Peace. God. But yeah, otherwise they're all fairly similar in what they do. Then we have the Warp Storm Discipline. A Psychic Knight!
A Psychic Knight!
Perish the Four!
Good grief!
So this is for any knight that you make a Psyker, and that is either the Knight Abominant, the new one. I use him in the game, but you can also make a Knight Psyker with one of the Zinch upgrades.
Yes.
If you're so inclined. So I do use Winds of the Warp and Spite Squall in the game.
Winds of the Warp's good, man.
Winds of Warp, pretty scary.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other good ones. I think those are probably the best. Like Winds of the Warp, you're pretty much always going to take. It's very good. For those of you that haven't watched the game yet, it's Warp Charge 6 to give your Knight a 5-up shrug. If you cast it on an 8, you get a 6-inch aura of all of your War Dogs get a 6-up shrug. Yeah, that's pretty good.
There's no ways to increase your psychic test, are there?
I think there is a relic which gives you +1 to cast. And it's not unmodified either, it's just 8 or more. So that's good. You've then got there's a few like mortal wound abilities. There's like a mortal wound like big area radius. There's a mortal like a sort of a pseudo smite which chains along. You've got a few ways of doing like -1. Is it Vortex Terrors? That's pretty good. Vortex Terrors.
So you subtract, so 1 enemy unit within 18 inches, you subtract 1 from their leadership of all models in the unit, and each time it's selected to shoot or fight, it must first take a dread test, another dread test. If it's failed, at the end of that current phase, reduce the weapon skill and ballistic skill of models in that enemy unit by 1.
Yeah, so they're -1. Yeah, and that's whenever they want to shoot or fight.
Yes.
So then they'll lose weapon skill or ballistic skill for that phase.
Yeah.
So effectively, it's a -1 to hit, or but it will stack with other minuses to hit because it's affecting your weapon skill, ballistic skill.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, you've subtracted 1 from their leadership. You're probably in dread range. All of a sudden, you've got units of Space Marines going, I'm now hitting on 4s because I'm leadership. Poo. Oh dear. Oh no. Now you do that on, say, I don't know. Let's do it on some Tau.
Yeah.
And then you've got the the pool of shadows for another -1 to hit.
Yeah.
So you go, yeah, you hit me on 6s
Hit
now.
on 6s now, you stupid towel with your railgun.
You silly towel.
Put that in your railgun and smoke
So
it.
there's some nice powers in there which offer some nice little, but it's just nice to see some psychic knights. It's very cool. Then we have relics. Again, a lot of them are similar, if not identical, but with a few little quality of life changes and tweaks.
Yep.
So you've got the Blasphemous Engine, the Veil of Medrengard are your Infernal and Iconoclast specific ones.
Big up Medrengard.
Big up Medrengard.
My boys.
Tell them what your boys made for us.
Ah, of course. So it gives your Ion Shield a 4-up invulnerable save against ranged attacks, and in addition, you get a 6-up invulnerable save against melee, which wasn't there before.
It wasn't. It can be quite helpful.
It can be.
Because you suddenly go, oh, I made a 6. Oh, I'm AP 5 million because I'm some sort of new codex, and you go, okay.
Yeah, I'm squats.
You'll
You'll die.
Wouldn't surprise me. You've got like the Helm of Warp Sight, ignore hit modifiers, ignore cover.
That's the same.
That's pretty much the same.
Dominus is better.
There's much better.
That's worth taking now. So that
Yes.
replaces your Destructor laser. I think before it was just the one shot, it was D3 shots or something.
Yeah.
But it's 72-inch range, heavy 3, so you get 3 shots, strength 16, -5, D3 +6.
baby.
Yowza!
It's nice.
That's Pound Town, baby!
I'm sure someone will turn around and say it's not as good as a railgun because it doesn't ignore inbounds and do
shut
more wounds, but it's also 3 shots and it's on a knight. So,
Just the Diamonus, man.
you know. Yeah. Teeth That Hunger still gives you an extra attack, no longer eats your own soul, and gives you boosts to your melee weapons.
Some would agree. Some would think that's a downside.
Well, it doesn't eat your soul.
Yeah.
I see.
Makes you more enraged.
Okay. And then there's a couple of new relics as well.
Panoply of Cursed Knights, that's new.
Yes, that is new. Gives you a 2-up save.
That's nice.
This is nice and simple.
Yeah.
Nice and simple. Gives you a 2-up save. The Helm of Dogs.
Ah, oof.
Please enlighten them as how you would make the Rabbit Hound even better.
So obviously you give it to a War Dog class knight, as you'd expect from the name. You add 1 to the attached characteristic for the bearer, and in addition to that, the bearer has the following ability: Helm of Dogs. Oof! While a friendly War Dogs class model is within 6 of the bearer, each time that model makes an attack, you re-roll a wound roll of 1.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's pretty nice.
It's like Chief Dog.
Chief Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking of Master Chief Dog because Halo, but yeah.
The Helm of Dogs.
Yeah, the Helm of Dogs. Yeah, so there's a few other like nice little sort of changes in there. There you
the
go.
Twisted Mark gives you +1 to your psychic test.
Yeah, +1 psychic, you know, an additional power. That's a pretty standard relic, like a psychic relic, but obviously it's on a knight.
Yes.
So for the most part, the relics are sort of as they are. Then you've got some chapter approved rules, your secondaries for those of you matched play fanatics. Path of Destruction is the same as it is in the GT Nachmund mission pack. You also have Purge the Enemy, a fitting challenge, which enables you basically, it's one of those pick the 3 biggest units in the enemy army, and if you kill them, you get points. If they kill you, you lose points. Yeah, fine. You also have Battlefield Supremacy, Ruthless Tyranny. You score victory points for basically having Chaos Knights. If you can, 2 victory points if you control half or more of the total number of objective markers on the battlefield, and 1 or more Chaos Knight models from your army are within range. 1 victory point if half or more of the total number of objective markers are within dread range, and score 1 victory point if every objective marker is within dread range.
Indeed.
Well, you got a 12-inch range, so it's actually, you can get quite a few points on that. It's nice to give them an option for Battlefield Supremacy. And then you have a Shadow Operations, Knights that do actions.
Storm of Darkness. So with this action, 1 Chaos Knight unit from your army can start deploying this action at the end of the morale phase. How unusual.
It's a weird timing, but it makes sense in a moment.
Yes, if it's in range of an objective marker that has not already been cursed by your army. The unit cannot start this action while there are any enemy units in range of the same objective marker. The action is completed at the end of your next psychic phase. So you do it in your morale phase and do it at the end of your psychic phase. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's never been done.
Quite literally.
Never been done. Provided the unit performing is still within range of the same objective marker. If completed, that objective marker is said to have been cursed by your army, and until the end of the battle, whilst a non-chaos unit is within 6 of that objective marker, subtract 1 from the leadership because you're being bothered by the spooky curse.
Yeah, the objective is now too spooky for you.
Yes, and then you get 3 victory points each time your army completes the Storm of Darkness action.
So it's actually quite a good one because you do it after you've moved, after you've shot, after you've fought, you then go, cool, I've cleared you off the objective. I'm going to start the dark ritual to call down the storm of darkness. Yes. And then in your next turn, you go, I can't move this turn. But then you go, because it completes at the start of your shooting phase. So you go, I can't move this turn, but I've just gotten 3 victory points and now I can shoot stuff and then run off and charge stuff. So if you can actually stagger your knights, basically going around to just clear stuff off of objectives, curse it, and then walk off to somewhere else. So it's actually quite a nice, viable objective for them, which is pretty nice.
Especially if you've got lots of war dogs.
Yes, now you can only do it once per turn. Like only one war dog can do it.
But in terms of your like board presence across different turns.
So that's a good change because they actually have secondary options, which is always a big downside of knights in general. So that is our extra stuff in terms of army rules. Let's talk about the nitty gritty, the knights themselves. It's unit time. I mean, it's Chaos Knights. It's not a huge amount of units, but you do actually have 4 new units.
Good grief.
Good golly, Miss Marley.
Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of your basic stats, they're all pretty much the same. The key difference is everyone's lost 2 inches of movement.
Yes.
Your War Dogs are now 12, 10, 8 move. Your Big Knights are now 10, 8, 6 move. So you've lost a few inches off of your movement. Okay, it is a bit of a blow. Bit of a bummer. But you've got it made up for in terms of just much better offensive stats.
Yep. And there are ways to boost your movement as well.
Yeah, of course.
If you wish, especially if you're running Infernal Household.
Yeah.
And there are some marks you can take, and then you've got your Harbingers of Dread. No.
The Harbingers of Dread doesn't improve it, but it helps you offset the speed to get there, as well as just giving you a bunch of extra stuff. So, we've got our War Dog Executioner, which is now the name for the War Dog with the twin cannons, and our War Dog Huntsman, which is the War Dog with the Melter and the Chain Cleaver.
Yes.
Although there's a big change here already with the autocannon. What's the do bit?
I mean, it's very similar to what it was before.
Heavy 2d3.
Yes.
Strength 7.
Yes.
Damage 3.
-2.
-2. It's only a little change.
I mean, yeah,
it's a nice change.
It's a big change.
It's a big old change there.
Big change. If you're trying to pierce through armor, say like a medium tank, you're wounding it on 4s anyway, generally. And then if you get if you're rolling anything with a 5 or a 6, big change.
Yeah, 5-ups rather than
damage
4s.
3.
Yeah.
Hey now.
Big old change there. The Huntsman is your thermal spear chap.
Yes.
It's now a heavy weapon. So no more advancing and shooting, but it's always 2 shots. And it's strength 9 now.
Yes, it is.
Doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but there's a fair bit of toughness 8 out there. So it can make a difference. Otherwise, it's a melter gun. It's got the D6 +2 at half range.
Yep.
In terms of the Chain Cleaver itself, I believe this is the same. Oh no, it's not actually. It's got +1 AP across the board.
It has indeed.
So you've got, you're still +4, you're now -4 and you're flat damage 3, or you can go for the sweep, which is 2 attacks and then strength use and -3 damage 1.
Yeah.
So you've got an extra AP. So you're running that with Iconoclast, you get an AP 5.
Chop, chop, chop.
You might not even need Iconoclast with that AP.
Maybe not.
That's quite scary. The extra attack's very nice.
It is very good.
So that's that. You also have a Diabolus heavy stub. It's basically a strength 5 heavy stubber.
Yes.
Or a Demon's Breath melter gun.
Oh, well, that sounds fun and interesting. What's that?
It's a melter gun.
Oh.
It's literally a melter gun.
Same as it was before?
Yep. Strength 8, -4 D6 damage, 12-inch range assault 1, melter gun, rolls.
Why is it called that?
Don't know.
Okay.
It just is. It just is. So those are your old school ones. But let's talk about the new ones.
The new
Because you
boys.
now have the Stalker, the Carnivore with a K because you know it's cool, and a Brigand.
Oh.
So the Stalker is your anti-infantry one. Now, all of these are made from the same kit, so they all have the same weapon options. None of these can take a melter gun, but what they can take is a Havoc launcher.
Yeah, and you can make these, sorry to interrupt you, you can make any of these with the new box.
Yeah.
So we were very surprised to see that it's not just like one of those like push fit kits.
Oh yeah, no,
it's like a full-on
the
multi-part kit, and you can make the Stalker, Carnivore, or the Brigand with the new Chaos Knight box.
Yeah, which is very nice. So you've got the Havoc multi-launcher, which is heavy D6, strength 5, AP 0, damage 1, ignore line of sight. handy to have. That can upgrade your heavy stubber. And then what you have is a choice of your chain glaive or a slaughter claw, which is a new weapon. The slaughter claw is ×2 -3 D3 +3 damage, but it doesn't have a sweep attack.
No.
So you're sacrificing a much bigger, punchier hit
Yeah.
for the lack of anti-infantry. But this is where the Stalker comes in, because he has an Avenger chain cannon, which is assault 12, strength 6, -2, damage 1.
I mean, that's where your anti-infantry lies. Yeah.
Chain cannon go brr.
Burp.
Yeah.
Burt.
You've then got the option of a Carnivore. So Carnivore's weapon skill 2, which is nice, has an extra attack and an extra 2 inches of movement.
Yes, Speedy Boy.
Yeah, so he's like the Rampage, he's a combat version. He has the chain glaive and the chop chop.
Yeah.
The chop claw.
Yeah.
So he's got the chop chop and the crush crush.
Yep.
Or
Ouch.
the chop, or the crush crush and the sweep sweep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you've got the Brigand, who has a chain cannon and a melter gun.
Very
or a
nice.
chain cannon and the thermal spear.
Yeah.
So he's a alternative shooty boy to your Executioner, a bit more of a
Medium range.
yeah, jack of all trades one. Yeah, so you've got some nice options there. But what about the big knights, Beard?
The big knights, where you've got your Despoiler, which is the same as it was before, essentially. The Reaper Chainsword is now +6 strength, -4 damage 6.
I think it's the same. It's again the extra AP.
The extra AP, yeah.
But here's the big difference: is the sweep.
the Sweepy.
There's a sweep that exists now.
With the sweep, you might think, you do 2 attacks instead of 1. No, no, no. You do 3 attacks instead of 1.
Trace.
That's 4, 8, 12 attacks.
12 attacks.
12 attacks,
That's
poor blimey.
That's 15 if you're an Iconoclast.
Yeah.
That's 18 if you've got a Knight Diabolus.
That's -4
Oh,
as well, because -3 normally.
-3, -4 in Iconoclast.
And then
Damage
damage
1.
2.
Oh, damage 2. Oh,
Damage
my.
2.
Oh my. oh my.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you'd expect it. And this is what I really like about this change, because as Beard said, it was always battle cannon fee.
Yeah.
You'd never use the really cool chainsword or the massive power fist, which no longer has a -1 to hit, thank goodness.
No, it doesn't. It's now called a Warp Strike Claw, which is great. I mean, I think, I can't remember if this is any different. ×2 strength, so strength 16, -3, damage 8.
Lol.
And then the sweep, you make 2 attacks instead of 1, but still more.
Sure.
So that'll be strength 10, -2, damage 3.
Gives them a backhand.
Yeah. Yeah. Boom! Yeah. The Titanic feet are strength users, strength 8, -2, damage 2. That's it. No additional attacks.
Yeah, they're not additional. They're not you make 3 additional attacks. It's if you want to attack with your feet, you make you 4 attacks with those feet. So if you've gone for 2 guns, you are sacrificing melee output. So it is definitely something you've got to consider.
Yeah.
But those guns are good.
They are, yeah.
They got some nice upgrades on those guns there. I mean, the Avenger Gatling cannon is exactly the same.
It is.
No changes there. The rapid fire battle cannon though.
Oh, here we go.
Damage free now.
Oh, baby.
Still 2d6, still -2, still strength 8.
So it should be.
But it's damage free.
Yeah.
Which is very nice.
It's very nice.
And the thermal cannon I use in the game, but suffice it to say, it's just a massive melter gun now.
Yeah.
But with a bit more less variance on the shots, because it's 2d3 shots.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
And also the weird name changes continue. The heavy flame is now a heavy dark flamer.
Oh. What does that do?
Nothing. It's just the same as heavy flamer.
It's a heavy flamer? Fantastic. Very good. Okay.
Dark flame.
And then you've got your Icarus pods and all the missiles and stuff, and they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Now here's the interesting thing with the Despoiler. He gives you an aura.
He does.
A 9-inch aura.
Yeah.
For your war dogs.
Quite literally releasing the hounds.
Yes. Is that what it's called?
Where my dog's at.
Dread Dominion.
Ooh, Dread Dominion.
So all of your big knights, apart from the tyrants, have a 9-inch aura for war dogs only, and it gives them an ability. Yeah. The Despoiler gives them heroic intervention.
Oh.
Which is quite nice.
It's very good.
I like that. It's my favorite because it's just it can be such a useful ability to have. But we then have the Desecrator.
Yes.
So this is your laser beam boy.
Laser boy. Yes. So you've got your Desecrator Laser Destructor. It's 2 shots. I can't remember how many the old
I think
one was.
it used to be D3.
Was D3?
Yeah.
So 2 makes sense. It's sort of in line with what we come to see with the new books. It is strength 14, it is AP 5, and it is damage D3 +6.
That's nice. Considering I think previously it was like D6 damage.
Yes. which is pants.
Oh, so
pants
terrible.
alive.
So terrible.
Yeah, so that's quite a nice update, I think. It's got the Reaper Chainsword, which I believe you can change out for a Warp Strike Claw. So if you want a very nice anti-armor option, you got your Desecrator.
Laser beam and then runs up and just punts it.
Yeah.
Big old
just
fist.
punch the molten slag.
Underside flips it. Yeah, look, it's nasty. And he gives reroll 1s to hit to War Dogs for ranged attacks.
Yeah.
Can you guess what the Rampage does?
Rampages.
Yes. Yes. Similar to the Carnivore, this is the melee only knight. As you'd expect, he keeps the 12-inch move.
Yes.
He also gets the weapon skill 2 and the 5 attacks. So him with Knight Obolus and in Iconoclast can do 21 strength 8 minus 4 damage to attacks.
Yay!
On the charge.
Yay!
Which is fun.
He's also re-rolling hit rolls of 1. Yes.
For the War Dogs. That's
No,
his aura.
for the War Dogs,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, it is for the War Dogs.
Yeah, so previously this guy used to get exploding 6s. He no longer gets that, but he gives he buffs your War Dogs.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we have another new knight.
So just one last thing, going back to like the spoiler quickly, you've got the Engine of Destruction ability as well. So if you are armed with the 2 melee options, you get an extra attack.
Oh, cool. So yeah, so it's similar to the Knight Rampager because he becomes more choppy. So it's basically a choice of do you want weapons? Do you want to reroll 1s for your War Dogs or heroic intervention? So you've got some nice options there. But then we have the Knight Abominant. Oh, the new one on the block, the Psychic Knight. Again, I use him in the game on Freeview. He doesn't have an aura, but he has psychic powers, so swings and roundabouts. And he has set war gear, so you can't do anything about these. Fine. They're all pretty good. The Volkite Combuster, a weapon of the Dark Ages.
Oh, good grief.
The Horus Heresy, but big and Volkite and combusty. Yes. So it's heavy 6, strength 10. It's only -1, but it is damage free, and each roll of a 6 is 3 mortal wounds in addition.
It's Mega Volkite.
Zap,
essentially.
zap. Yeah, so if you know what Volkites do,
Yeah.
it's that.
High strength, low AP, ouch.
But
Damage.
it does the ouchies.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get the armor through, it's the ouchies.
Right in your soul.
My soul's been zapped.
It's
been
gone now.
combusted. Nasty. Just as an aside, I mentioned that the Diabolus Heavy Stubber was strength 5. It's actually heavy 4, strength 5.
You do get...
So yeah, why that has a special name and is better, I don't know. Like if the Demon's Breath Melter Gun was just, it's D6 plus 2, like all the time, there was no, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Or it was like 18-inch range or strength 9, like even just strength 9.
The Dark Flame was D6 plus something.
Yeah, or strength 6. They'd be like, but it's literally just a heavy flame ornament. Anyway. So he's got 2 melee weapons. He has the Electro Scourge, his tentacle arm, which so he only has 3 attacks, but the Electro Scourge does triple that with strength user -2 damage free. So he's got 9 attacks with his tentacle arm, which is nasty. And then he also has a tail. He's literally an Ankylosaurus, the Bale Mace.
Yeah.
He does an additional D3 attacks at strength units -2 damage too.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, he's pretty sweet. And then we have the big boy, Brother Baha himself.
Brother Baha.
The Knight Tyrant.
Of the Baha, man.
Yes. So nice little upgrade for this guy. Again, he's also lost the 2 inches of movement, so he's slow.
Yeah.
8-inch move.
Yeah.
But he does have a 2-up save.
He does have a 2-up save.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
That's helpful.
That is nice.
Yeah. And his weapon's got a pretty nasty improvement.
Yeah, and with your household that you used, he would have
32 wounds.
32 wounds. That's a lot of wounds.
It's a lot of wounds to
You have to
chew.
get him down to 14 to degrade him.
Yeah, because it still follows the 15 wounds, 8 to 14 wounds remaining and all that.
Yeah.
So you'd need to do, in order to get him to 14 wounds, you'd need to do 18 wounds to him. Whereas previously 18 wounds would have taken him down to 10 wounds, which is still in the mid bracket, but he's in that mid bracket for longer. That's the key thing. So yeah, it's quite nice. But tell us some of the weapons.
You have the Brimstone Volcano Lance. So that's cool. 80-inch range, D3 shots, which is the thing. Strength 16, AP 5, D6 plus 8.
Ooh.
Blast. It's a minimum of 9 damage. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And it is blast. So that's
Sure,
good.
why not?
Why not?
Also, yeah, I will point out the 80-inch range on boards where it's physically impossible to have anything further than 80-inch range away. But I guess it's there for apocalypse type games.
Why not?
Sure.
When in Rome.
Okay.
You instead could use your Ectoplasma Decimator, which has 2 profiles. You've got your standard and your supercharge. You should only really have one.
Your supercharge?
Come on.
I mean, your chaos.
You can I suppose you could have a heavy 2d6 strength 8 -4 damage 2 blast.
I mean, that seems okay.
if you're an idiot. Otherwise, you do the supercharge, which is same amount of shot, strength 9 -4 damage 3.
But
But you do suffer 2 mortal wounds on the roll of a 1.
2 mortal wounds.
2.
And that's on everyone?
Yeah. A modified hit roll of a 1. It feels a bit much. You are getting quite badly punished.
Yeah,
there.
you're going to hurt yourself quite badly because you've
If you
got...
get like 10 shots, what's the average?
Well, you're going to take at least 2 mortal wounds, but the chances are you're probably going to take 4. You'll take 8.
I'll take 8. I'm
Yeah.
just dead. Yeah,
you die. And you're infernal as well, so you've
Yeah.
already taken D3.
Double dead. Yeah. You have the Geist Strike missile, which used to be called the Shield
The
Breaker
shield breaker.
missile. Yeah.
They've all gotten like chaotic names. Funny that.
That's quite a cool name though. Geist
Geist
Strike.
strike. It strikes your ghost.
Yeah, right in the ghouls. You have. I guess you can still take up to 4 of these. No.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's basically the same.
Yeah. So how many you take? You have 1 shot per one. Strength 10 -4 d6 damage. You use them once per battle, and you can't make invulnerable saves with them like you used to be able to before. You've got the Twin Demon Breath Melter Gun, which is a melter gun, but there's the twin one.
Ooh, wow.
You've got the Twin Desecrator Cannon, which would replace...
They're the same, I think, because they're the
they're instead of the
shoulder
Geist
guns.
Strike missiles. So these are 2d3 shot, strength 7 -1 damage 2 blast.
Yeah, I think they're the same.
They're the little turrety things. And then you have the feet.
Yes.
The smelly feet of chaos.
Where's the fun weapons? The Dark Flame Cannon. Because that's your Castellan build.
Yes.
You could go for the Valiant build, which is the Harpoon and the Flamer. So these are my favorite because this is Brother Baja at his finest. So the Dark Flame Cannon is now a heavy 3d6, strength 7 -2, damage 2, auto hitting. It's pretty good.
Yeah. 3d6.
Sure.
That's a lot, potentially.
And then we have the Warp Shock Harpoon.
I like a harpoon, chef.
So it's strength 18, heavy 1. So it's already a 6-inch extra range, which is nice, which is good because you've lost 2 inches of range.
Yeah.
Strength 16, -6. Sure. Strength 10, damage 10 rather. Cool. You add 1 to the hit rolls against vehicles and monsters, but not against aircraft. It used to be reroll hits. Now it's +1. I guess it's just to make it quicker so you're not re-rolling dice. Each time an attack is made with this weapon is allocated to a model. That model's unit suffers 3 mortal wounds in addition to any normal damage. So it's a railgun that always does 10 damage.
Yeah.
So basically, if it wounds... Now, it doesn't ignore invulnerable saves like a railgun, but it's wounding other knights on 2s.
Yeah.
They only get their invuln, and if they fail it, they're taking 13 damage. Yes?
I mean, I feel like they probably should have done what they did with the harpoon on the kill rig.
Yeah, you can't run away from it.
Can't run away from it.
Or drag it closer
That's
to
kind
you.
of chaosy as well.
I'm surprised it wasn't a stratagem, you know?
It's a shame.
Yeah, I'm
You
really...
sort of like start bringing it in.
Yeah,
bring
I'm
it
really
towards
surprised
you.
that wasn't a stratagem, which is a pity, But it is what it is. So those are the units. I say not a lot to talk about, but obviously, you know, there's some pretty significant changes in there. But what about the points? So the points then, Beard.
What do points mean?
Prizes. And also models to use in a game of 40k.
Yes.
How many models can you fit in a Knight's Army?
If you're taking war dogs, a lot.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. So points-wise, it's not actually that much different.
No.
Realistically.
No.
You know, a few things, you know, I think the Huntsman, the Thermal Spear ones have gone up by like maybe 10 points. The Executioners, the autocannon ones are basically the same. Your big knights are basically the same. Like, you're not talking huge point changes here, like maybe 5 to 10 points changes up or down. Generally, you're still in the 400 region mark for your big knight, 600-ish for your tyrant, and 150-ish for your flavor of War Dog. The advantage that you have now is with the Favour of the Dark Gods, and those cost points. How many times have you written a Chaos Knights list where you go, I've got like 80 points spare?
Literally every time.
Like every time you go, what am I going to do with 80 points? You've got upgrades now, which is really, really good.
I wonder if this was intentional for that purpose, because like the amount of times that I wish I had one more like War Dog or something, but I don't have it in my army, and it's not quick to make and paint a War Dog. But it also means you can give little bits of flavour to all of your knights as well, to make them their own little pilot. Yeah,
and they because there's quite a lot of them. There's 12 upgrades.
Yeah,
no, 15 upgrades.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options that you have. Like you say, great for the flavour and the little sort of bits that you can dot around. But it's also, they've got some nice rules to help add in some extra punch or some extra utility to your knights, which you were missing. Yeah. So the points on those, they vary between sort of 15 and 60, depending on what one you're doing and who you're doing it on. So you can generally get 2 or 3 of them in a list. And then obviously you've got little upgrades here and there. So, your Knight Abominant, your Psychic Knight is 430. That's about what you'd expect for a knight.
Yeah.
So, nothing crazy has happened here. Nothing crazy has happened in terms of the changes. What has happened is the knights have received a 9th edition Codex with upgraded stats befitting their stature.
Yep.
A big pure army special rule and some upgrades.
Yep.
And a few quality of life changes, as well as neutering some old favourites, but also adding in some new options and tricks and abilities.
Yeah.
This is what a 9th edition Codex should be.
It's brilliant.
Now I'm going to say something very controversial here.
Okay.
Right?
Unlike you.
There's no Codex creep here compared to the last 4 books that we've had.
You said the CC words.
I said the CCs. And also, when I'm saying that a knight's book feels balanced, that should indicate either a concern with my mental well-being or that it's legitimately a really well done book.
Yeah.
Now, it's knights. There's going to be issues with knights regardless, both using them and against them. If you have a bad turn or 2 against knights, you're going to probably get steamrolled because you've not been able to deal with them. Yeah. Likewise, if your opponent kills like 2 knights turn 1 or 2, you are up against it. So they are a very swingy army still. That has not changed in any way, shape or form. But the quality of life changes has brought them up to a 9th edition level, which is what you kind of want to see in the Codex.
For sure. There's nothing in here that we think is particularly broken or busted. We can't see anything that's going to be really heavily manipulated to make them overpowered. I can probably see people using, if you're playing competitively, I can see people just swarming War Dogs.
Which is what they've been doing,
yeah.
But now they've got sort of better options, and those War Dogs now, I mean, are you going to take an Avenger Gatling Cannon for anti-infantry when for the same points you can take 3 Stalkers with the Avenger Chain Cannon? You only damage 1, but you've got triple the shot.
Yeah.
It's the same range, the same strength, the same AP. I mean, and here's the other interesting thing. With all of your big chop weapons in your fist having a big damage, high damage sweep attack, the Forge World Knights aren't potentially as needed.
Yeah.
They do still have some good advantages like inbuns in combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your Stalkers do the same thing as your lightning cannons. They lose the exploding 6s, but they have a melee attack, so they've got more utility.
Yeah.
So it feels like a more robust Codex for a Codex which only has like 10 data sheets.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think there's anything drastically broken. I think what you will see is here's 3 Stalkers, probably 6 Stalkers because they're very good, some Carnivores for combat, and some Melter guys.
Yeah.
And then that'll be your army.
Yeah.
Like at that stage.
And if you're not playing competitively, if you're playing Tempest of War and you're not doing a competitive mindset, the great thing about this book is that there are options galore. So you can pretty much do whatever you want. If you've magnetized your knights in the past, good news is you can use all of them. There's nothing that's particularly weak. I love that the feet aren't an auto-tick anymore because of course you want to hit them with your Reaper chainsaw.
Pleases me so greatly. Now. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like stomping through, like, and especially Chaos Knights, they'd be like, you're not even worth my time. You just like walk through them. But I mean, you can just flavor it as that's what they do. Yeah. And the Shooty Knights are just that arrogant, they don't even bother attack. That's why they're not as powerful with their stomps, because they're just like, how dare you approach me, peasant?
Yes.
You know, and then they're just going to step away and just blast them to bits anyway. So, but it's just, I just really like the fact that it gives you an incentive to use these cool weapons.
Yeah.
It feels more flavorful, which is, I think the book's nailed the flavor for sure.
It's a beaut.
It's a good one. It's the winner from me. And as I say, maybe checking on my mental well-being when I'm saying that about a Knight's book.
Or maybe the end times are truly here. That could also be another option. But hopefully not.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Who knows at this stage. Let us know in the comments below, are the end times upon us? What are you looking forward to about the Chaos Knights Codex? What are you not looking forward to? Is there something that we have missed? Is there something that we have potentially glossed over? Is there something that you are very excited to do and talk about? Let us know in the comments below. Keep the conversation going and that hobby love spreading. But until next time, I have been Chef.
You have.
You have been Beard.
I have.
You have.
The whole time.
Shocking. You have been Bosses, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Peace.